August 22nd of 2021 was supposed to be a day of celebration and remembrance of the father of Mary Harrison and Willie Brown. Instead, it turned into a night of horror and tragedy. It turned out that way because these five men seated here before you today hunted them down and through a coordinated and targeted attack, sprayed their car with bullets, 40 to be exact, one of which entered that back seat and pierced the heart and lung of Suni Bell, 4-year-old daughter of Mary Harrison, who was in the front passenger seat. You will hear that earlier in the day, Mary Harrison and Willie Brown had been at DeSoto Park for a celebration of their father, who had died a year earlier. You will hear that afterwards, Willie Brown and Mary Harrison were attempting to find a sort of get together afterwards, an after party kind of thing, happening at a cousin's salon. This cousin's salon was somewhere around 47th and Hillsborough. They didn't know the exact address. They didn't know the exact location. They just sort of had a general idea of where to go. Willie Brown was driving that day. He was driving his silver Infiniti. You'll see a lot of pictures of that car. He was driving. Mary Harrison was seated beside him in the passenger seat, and Suni Bell was in the back seat of his vehicle. They began to drive around Hillsborough and 47th. Unfortunately, that area was also where a gas station is located. It's a Chevron. It's often called the Jet. That was the former name of the gas station. At that Jet, these five individuals, along with a number of other people, were all hanging around. And you'll see video of this. They're all hanging around out there, doing whatever. At some point, as Willie Brown is driving around, lost basically, he notices that they're starting to pay attention to him and pointing at him. At one point, Willie Brown parks by the gas station. By the end of this trial, you become very well accustomed to this map. Okay, I'm telling you that. So what we're talking about is this location. Oops, I had it upside down. Oh, this is the Chevron right here, the Jet. This is 47th right here, 45th and 47th is right there. This was the area that Willie Brown was driving around looking for this salon where the people were gathering afterwards. At this Chevron, right around this area over here, kind of towards the side of it, there's like some little garbage bins or dumpsters, and they're all hanging out right here. At a certain point, Willie Brown parks right around on this field, trying to call his cousin to find out where it is the salon is supposed to be so that he can get there. While he's sitting there at that field, he notices the people at that Chevron pointing at him and looking at him. He's getting uncomfortable at this point. He's unable to reach his cousin, and it's getting late, so he decides to take Mary and her daughter home. For whatever reason, ladies and gentlemen, these men focused on that silver Infiniti. Willie Brown pulls out of that field, and drives down 45th Street before pulling out onto Hillsborough Avenue. He passes a tow truck, and you're going to see video from across the street looking this way. This video right here, Lorenzo Garage. You'll see a number of videos from that. Pointing this way towards 45th Street. Willie Brown comes out. He can't go left here. He turns right and heads down Hillsborough Avenue, past the Chevron, up to around 50th Street, where he does a U-turn to come back and head west to take Mary home, Mary and Sonny home. At that point in time, these men were arming themselves. They were gathering together, they were pointing, they were getting in cars, and they were taking off to hunt them down. Again, this is a video, ladies and gentlemen, that you're going to see many times throughout the course of this trial. You're going to see it zoomed in. You're going to see it slowed down. You're going to see video of each of the individual people and what they did and their part in all of this. This, ladies and gentlemen, is where they conspire. This is where the conspiracy begins. This is where they decide they are going to hunt down that vehicle and shoot and kill whoever is in that car. Now, I understand, ladies and gentlemen, at first glance in that, there's a lot going on. It's hard to tell what's happening, but I promise you by the end of this trial, you will know who those individuals were. You will know their actions. You will see some of them holding firearms, including long assault rifles. You will see some of them masking themselves up the minute they hear what they're about to do. Plain as day, right there. That's where they come together with an agreement to hunt down and shoot the car of Willie Brown. And if you watch early in that video, you will see a car go by, a silver looking car, which appears to be the same car that Willie Brown drives. They focused on that car from that moment forward. Many of them running out in the fields to take a look to see where that car is and where it's parked and what it's doing. And the minute that car pulled out of that field and drove out onto Hillsborough Avenue, heading east, these individuals jumped in 3 separate vehicles, loaded with guns, masked up, and began their pursuit. Now, ladies and gentlemen, they don't know who is in that car, or they think they may know who is in that car, but they don't know Willie Brown. They don't know Mary Harrison, and they don't know Suni Bell. Neither of those 3 have any relationship whatsoever with any of these men. They're not from around that area. That's not where they go. They don't know these men. These men don't know them. Why these men targeted that car, we're not sure. But they targeted that car. Mistaken identification, who knows? But the fact is that car was targeted. Now, there's no requirement that they know who was in the car. That's irrelevant. All that matters is that their intent was to kill whoever was in that car. That's all that matters. Whether they knew the names of the individuals, just similar to like a mass shooter or anyone else, they don't have to know the names of the individuals they're trying to kill, just that they are trying to kill. In this case, they were trying to kill. So at this point in time, ladies and gentlemen, you're going to see through a series of videos that have been put together by detectives and police officers who are involved in the investigation of this case. These videos will show, as I told you earlier, from Lorenzo's garage, it will show you Willie Brown's silver Infiniti turning out and heading down Hillsborough Avenue past the jet. You've seen from the video you just saw was from East Tampa Pawn and Gun, which is facing towards that corner of the jet. You'll also see a Chevron video that will show the 3 vehicles pulling out. Following that car as it turns around. Power Electric will be the next video you see. In Power Electric, you will see the victim's silver Infiniti coming by on the right side lane, the inside lane, the right side lane along the curb. You will see the silver Infiniti pass. You will have one angle pointing this way where you'll see it coming towards you passing. You will have another angle coming this way where you see it coming towards you passing. And as it passes, you will notice a dark colored Infiniti coming up behind it. Willie Brown will tell you that as he drove, he saw that car doing the same U-turn he did. He recognized it and saw it. At that point in time, he still didn't know that they were out for him, but he did notice that car do the same U-turn he did and come up behind him. That car is going at a super fast speed. You will see that. It chases up behind, and then in the distance, you will see as Willie Brown's car is just proceeding along, the darker Infiniti will catch up and brake lights will come on to match the speed of that silver Infiniti. To match the speed of Willie Brown's car. The driver of that car, ladies and gentlemen, was Zvante Sampson, and I will get into that in a moment. From that Power Electric, the next one we will see is from Lorenzo's again. This time, instead of the car coming this way, the car will be coming this way. It is at that moment that that Infiniti, driven by Zvante Sampson, is caught up to Willie Brown and begins to unleash gunfire on Willie Brown. You hear from Willie Brown that he panicked. You could hear the bullets hitting his car. He saw the passenger who, by the way, is Quandarius Hammond, and I will get into that in a moment. He saw the passenger shooting at his car. He could hear the bullets hitting his car. He was panicked and scared. He made a decision that probably he regrets at this time, but in that moment and in that panic, he had thought or believed that his car had been disabled. And he jumped out and took off running, leaving his sister and niece in the car. At this point in time, Willie Brown thought they were shooting at him. He'll tell you, I thought they were shooting at me. So I took off running, and you're going to hear how he ran down this road right here, which is 45th Street. He leaves the car and goes running down 45th Street and starts knocking on people's houses in a panic. They're shooting at me. You're going to hear those gunshots, by the way. You will hear how many gunshots there were. But he will tell you, running over here, knocking on people's doors, they're shooting at me. They're shooting at me. You're going to see a video from Mike Cokerly's house. He had a video camera set up, and you'll see that he ran through backyards and was trying to find someone to help him, but no one would help him because they're scared. They hear the gunshots, and then there's some man at their door saying, "Let me in, help me, I got to get away." So no one does, but they do call 911 for him. Then he stays there. Willie Brown stays there waiting for police. Now, right at this time, though, Mary Harrison was in the passenger seat, jumps into the driver's seat, and starts driving off further down Hills Road. By this point, the first car that Zvante Sampson is driving has already turned off down 40, I believe, or down one of these roads, had already turned off and headed left and was going back to the jet. But unbeknownst to Mary Harrison, there were two cars following up. The second car goes by, and it's unclear whether or not someone shot from that second car. We believe that they did, but at this point in time, no one from that second car has been charged. The third car continues pursuit, and you will see right around here that this auto upgrade videos, you will see the third car catch up, and you will observe that car firing on Mary Harrison and Suni Bell, defenseless. You will see muzzle flashes, very big muzzle flashes, clearly coming from a very large caliber gun. You will see those flashes. Boom, 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 boom. You will be hearing the gunshots. And you will see that along Hillsborough Avenue, by the time crime scene shows up, there are 40 casings scattered throughout in different groupings. And you're going to learn about those groupings. You're going to learn about the grouping of 9mm that were over here on the initial shooting. You're going to learn about the grouping over here where eventually the car crashes into a pole. Mary crashes into a pole. And you will see that around this area where you see those heavy muzzle flashes is where the rifle was shooting. The rifle coming from the passenger seat of the car driven by Jalen Bedford. The passenger seat that was occupied by Andrew Thomas. All who have been identified as getting into those vehicles. Mary crashes into the pole. She gets out and realizes that her daughter has been struck. In a panic, she runs, screaming, asking for any help she can get, anybody. And you will hear that a large number of people start to come out once these cars have cleared the area and begin to render aid to Suni Bell. They try to do CPR. They do whatever they can to try and save this little girl. But ultimately, they're not successful. Because one bullet went through her body, punctured her heart, punctured her lung, and killed her. You're going to see the vehicle. You're going to see the amount of gunshots that happened on that vehicle, the holes in that car, how many times that car was shot. You will see all of that. This, ladies and gentlemen, was a targeted attack, coordinated by a group of individuals who were hell-bent on killing whoever was in that car. So, obviously, a police investigation begins. Suni Bell is taken to the hospital where she is pronounced deceased. You're going to hear from the medical examiner about her injury. She actually has two, one of which is a very small entrance wound, but appears to be possibly shrapnel or something maybe from the car. The medical examiner will tell you that she was pretty much not going to survive this injury, no matter what, no matter how much aid they had given to her. And I will show you a photograph where you will see people there helping, trying to give help. No matter how much aid was rendered, that minute that bullet hit her, she was gone. The enemy is not going to be able to tell you what bullet it was. We're not going to sit here, ladies and gentlemen, try and tell you that if any specific one of these individuals fired the gun that killed her. What we're telling you is that they worked together as a team to make this happen. And it doesn't matter which one fired the killing shot, they all worked to make this happen. So the investigation begins, and you're going to hear a lot of evidence from this crime scene. Again, riddled with casings, up and down. And we will have crime scene diagrams that will show you where each of the casings was located. At least 4 different firearms were used in this case. That much we do know. So detectives in law enforcement began gathering these videos that we discussed, one of which is the Chevron video. So in that video, in the East Tampa Pond video, they notice all of this. They see these individuals reacting to the car that they believe is the car that Willie Brown was driving. They see these individuals then leaving the minute Willie Brown goes by. And they're able to track these vehicles as they come by and eventually unload on Willie Brown's car. So the detectives start to identify the individuals involved. One of the first individuals they identify is this man right here, closest to you, Jalen Bedward. They identify him as the driver of the third vehicle, the Chrysler 300. They eventually meet with Mr. Bedward. They show Mr. Bedward the video you just saw, and he identifies himself. He says, yeah, that's me. At one point in the video, I'm not sure if you saw it, someone kind of runs in and falls to the ground. That's Jalen Bedward. He identifies himself and says, yeah, I tripped on some rebar. At one point in this video, Jalen Bedward can be seen holding a very long assault type rifle. He's confronted with that and admits, yeah, that's my gun. I was posting up. Everyone was yelling about the car. So I posted up with my rifle. And you will see, when you watch some of these zoomed in and slowed down, you will see the silhouette basically at certain points when he's turning of the rifle in his hand. And he admits that was his rifle. He admits everything, admits getting in the car, admits driving off with all of them, but then says, but I never did a U-turn. I never went back. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, his cell phone and casings found at that scene prove that he's lying. He did, in fact, go back. He did, in fact, make that U-turn, and he was, in fact, the car, the third vehicle that unleashed on Willie Brown's car at that spot. And we know this because of the cell phone evidence that shows him in that area right around that time. We know this because another one of the passengers in his car, we were able to obtain the gun. And that gun matched some of the casings that were found at that scene. The front seat passenger in that car was Andrew Thompson. Andrew Thompson seated way back there, kind of towards the right. That's Andrew Thompson. He was in the video, kind of towards the front, like with the checkered black and white shorts. Again, we're going to show you videos where we zoom in on them so you have a better understanding of their part in it. He's also the individual who pulls off his white t-shirt and wraps it around his face as a mask before they take off. Andrew Thompson gets in the passenger side of the car driven by Jalen Bell. The passenger side, where, ladies and gentlemen, you will see the very large muzzle flashes coming from that vehicle as it is passing Mary Harrison in the Infiniti. Andrew Thompson shot that rifle at that car. He was in that passenger seat. He identified himself on video at that Chevron. That was him firing that gun. And where that big gun was firing is where we find the rifle cases, all right in this area here, just near where she eventually crashes. But there's also two other casings that are found there from a 9mm. Right in that exact same spot, right by the rifle casings, a smaller gun. Those rifle casings belonged to the third passenger or the other passenger in that car. So you had Jalen Bedward driving, Andrew Thompson is the front seat passenger, and in the back seat, carrying a 9mm, was James Denson, who's seated kind of in the middle over here in the corner. James Denson the fourth. He had a firearm with him as well. And he identifies himself from that Chevron video. And he identifies himself getting into the back seat of the car driven by Jalen Bedward. So there's no doubt, ladies and gentlemen, that it was Jalen Bedward who drove that car because the people in his car left evidence right there at the scene. James Denson is talking to the police and tells them that he has a baby, a Taurus gun, that he never lets out of his sight. So they ask him, where is that gun? Oh, I pawned it because I needed some money. Where did he pawn it? Can't make this up, right here at East Tampa Pawn, where we got the video. So what do detectives do? They go right back to East Tampa Pawn, and sure enough, there's a Taurus 9mm gun that he pawned with a pawn ticket in his thumbprint on the pawn slip. They send it to the Florida Department of Law Enforcement, who are able to make comparisons between casings and determine whether or not a casing was fired from a particular gun. And they found two casings right around this spot here belonging to the gun that James Denson says he never lets out of his sight. That was the third vehicle. And all of that happened again right in this area. The first vehicle, which sends out the initial shots to where Willie Brown thinks the car's disabled and has to jump out. That vehicle was driven by Zvante Sampson, who's seated right there, directly in front of you, facing you, with the large dreads. That is Zvante Sampson. He was the driver of the first vehicle, a darker colored Infiniti. Again, you will see that in some of the videos. You saw that in the video there. It was the one with the brake lights that you were looking at the back of. That's the car that Zvante Sampson gets in. That's the car he drives. He has one passenger with him, Quandarius Hammond. Zvante Sampson admits to getting in that car, admits to driving that car, admits that on that video, that's him getting in the driver's seat of that vehicle. But Zvante Sampson does not admit that he made the U-turn. He says he continues on. Again, cell phone and video evidence prove that it's not the case at all. You will also know that Zvante Sampson, the driver of Quandarius Hammond, who says he drove off and that was it, he left, headed eastbound on Hillsborough, that was it. Well, you will watch another video from that East Tampa Pawn that's going to show just a minute or two after the shooting, he's pulling back in to that Chevron, where he lets out his passenger, Quandarius Hammond, who goes behind a dumpster, grabs a bag, and then they walk back to these apartments, or he walked back to these apartments where Zvante Sampson drives around and parks. He didn't leave. He didn't go eastbound. We could follow that car and we track that car back through some of these back roads through other videos. Because Zvante Sampson didn't keep on going. He stayed, he turned around and he shot, or he had his passenger shoot at Willie Brown's car. And again, from that power electric, you will see how as that car is passing at a very fast speed to catch up, you watch those brake lights and you will see the brake lights on Zvante Sampson's Infiniti slow down, come on, to basically match the speed of Willie Brown's car. He knew what was going to happen, and he set it up and he got his passenger there so that his passenger could unleash on it. Speaking of his passenger, that is our final person here, Quandarius Hammond. He's kind of back there in the corner. Quandarius Hammond was the passenger of this vehicle. He identifies himself in the video. Again, all five of them admit that is them in that video at that Chevron on that day. But Quandarius Hammond says, "Oh, yeah, that's me getting in there." But when we drove off, he dropped me off like right on the corner there, and I walked back, and my girlfriend came and picked me up. Again, we knew from cell phone evidence and from the later video that shows him coming back with Zvante Sampson and being dropped off where he grabs the bag behind the dumpster, that was not true. He lied. And in fact, you'll hear a jail phone call with his girlfriend where she says, "I can't say that because I was in St. Pete." So these individuals are arrested, search warrants are obtained. You will hear about different searches that are conducted of both the vehicles as well as their houses. You will see the clothes that are found that match the clothes they were wearing on that day. Phones are searched as well. And you're going to see some evidence that comes from the phone belonging to Quandarius Hammond. It will show him in the clothes that you'll see him wearing throughout the day at the Chevron. You will also see him holding a gun. You will see that he did some searches while after this occurred, including 4-year-old shot in Tampa video footage. Other phones were collected. In fact, all of them were. Some were completely wiped out to factory reset, so there was no evidence obtained from those particular phones. Some call detail records, which you're going to hear about, were obtained, which shows that there was, in fact, prior to and afterwards, communication between all of these individuals via phone. And you're also going to hear from an expert regarding cell tower technology and advanced timing data that will tell you and explain to you how cell phones can often, because they communicate with towers, can often give location data. Sometimes it's very just kind of open-ended, like a V that will show, oh, it's somewhere in this neighborhood by the V coming out that way from the cell tower. But sometimes with what's called timing advanced records, they're able to use different, and it's usually with just T-Mobile, which 4 of these 5 individuals had T-Mobile. It's able to give you almost a pinpoint spot at a specific location of where that phone is. It's not quite exact, but it's very close. The detective will tell you that with time advanced records, if he was trying to find a phone, he would look at that spot and he would start somewhere there and it would be somewhere around there. Well, you're going to hear that those time advanced records will show that at least 3 of the 4 phones dots are almost right there where the shooting was taking place at the time of the shooting. Not heading eastbound away from Hillsborough or down Hillsborough away from the scene, right there at the time of the shooting. The only one that's different, really, is Andrew Thompson's, because he had AT&T, and AT&T, you're going to hear from the detective, does not give us quite a good location reference. It does show him in kind of the general area of that Chevron area just after the shooting, but it doesn't give any pinpoint accuracy like the others do. But it doesn't matter because Jalen Bedwards does, and we know that Andrew Thompson was in that car, and we know that James Stenson was in that car because he left the bullet casings there that matched his gun. This is overwhelming evidence, ladies and gentlemen, not circumstantial. This is direct evidence. The casings, direct evidence. These videos, direct evidence. Cell site results, direct evidence. All point to these 5 individuals being involved in this. All the evidence, ladies and gentlemen, tells you loud and clear how these 5 men conspired, teamed up, and worked together to hunt down and kill Suni Bell and anyone else who happened to be in that car. And at the conclusion of this case, the state is confident you will find each of these gentlemen guilty as charged on all counts. Thank you.